Welcome to Back in the Box, your weekly dose of discussions and stories shared about how we felt we were kept in certain boxes in our lives by society and close family members who expected us to sit in a box and stay in it. In our podcast, we aim to lift the lid on all the times we try to break out of the boxes.
We are both British South Asian women and are lifting the lid on all of our personal experiences and doing so as two friends having a light-hearted conversation. And through healing, we're now in a position to be able to talk openly and vulnerably in the hope that you may also be able to resonate with our experiences.
Join us to lift that lid.
This episode, we're going to be discussing boxes around parenting teenagers, part 2. And our children, when they were broadening and exploring themselves as teenagers, discovering themselves through those physical changes and emotional changes that they experience through adolescence and puberty.
So let's dive in and explore what boxes we faced around this as parents. Were there any boxes you were putting in place or had to break out of during your children's teenage years linked to periods?
Yeah, let's talk about periods first and foremost. You know, with girls, it's really, really important, isn't it? I would say how I went about explaining periods, and that's a big thing, isn't it, for girls, was based on my own experiences. And myself as a parent, I wanted to take the good bits of what happened in my experience and then add what I felt that they needed to know, but also allowing that space for them to be curious and ask what they wanted to know as well. So starting really with my own experience, my mum explained periods to me when I was about 9 or 10 years old, because I was developing quite early at the time and I was starting to grow those little boobies. So I think she probably thought, oh, I better tell her just in case. And I remember her telling me really clearly about the bleeding and how normal it was. So when it happened to me, I knew what it was and I did not think I was going to bleed to death.
How old were you when you actually had your period?
Yeah, I think I was around 10 years old when I had my first period at primary school.
Wow, that's early back then. I mean, we're talking years back. It's been quite scary having a period so young, really overwhelming. How did you feel about it?
I wasn't scared about it because I knew what was going to happen and my mum had already told me about it. I guess it was unusual for girls at that stage, you know, we're talking 50 odd years ago now, for girls to have periods that young. So yeah, I felt really self-conscious about it. And I remember, because it wasn't the norm for girls to have periods at primary school, unlike nowadays, in those days, there were no sanitary bins in the girls' toilets. So it's like, what do I do with my used sanitary towel? And thinking about, I don't want anybody else coming in when I'm in the loo. Oh, they might hear me taking off the wrapper off my sanitary towel. And all this sort of thing was going through my head and feeling quite embarrassed, you know, again in PE, when you're wearing like leggings and stuff like that. You know, is my sanitary towel showing? Because in those days, they didn't have these lovely, thin, discreet sanitary towels. Oh, no. They had the big, nappy-looking, 1 centimetre thick sanitary towels, you know, like a big wedgie around your bum and like underneath.
What, like the ones that you get after labour? Those
Exactly.
big mama pads.
Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, a lot of my friends didn't actually start their periods way into secondary school. And to be honest, we didn't learn about periods in primary school. So I'm glad that my mum told me that a time that we learnt about them was in sex ed classes in secondary school. So I was really conscious about this and I wanted to explain to my daughters beforehand in case they were early developers. From about the age of 9, I actually bought some really, really good books about puberty, hormones, adolescence. And what we did was all 3 of us went through each of the pages in quite a lot of detail. And I remember I read somewhere to explain all of the terms using correct medical terminology.
Okay.
Children then understand what the words are if they need to refer to them for medical purposes. As they get older and they want to go in to see the doctor by themselves, or if they're talking about their private parts, they know exactly how to refer to them. And having spoken to them, they actually said it really helped them and they didn't feel embarrassed about it.
Oh my God, that's brilliant. I mean, I still refer to my private parts as my nunus.
And that's
There's
the
no
thing.
medical word in my vocabulary for that at all.
Yeah. And that's what we do, though, isn't it? We don't talk about vaginas. It's not a word that's actually used, is
No.
it? Everybody has their own little terminology. And it's really important, I think, for children to know all of those sort of medical terms as well. And they felt that when their period came, they were prepared, they knew what to do. And they've actually said that they would do the same thing for their own children. So I must have done something right there. I remember what I did definitely do was also make up a little discreet black toiletry bag for them that could be hidden at the bottom of their school bags, because you don't want, obviously, that coming out anywhere, do you? And inside, they had a spare pair of knickers. I put feminine hygiene wipes in case they came on their period all of a sudden, and also panty liners and sanitary towels. And I showed them how to use it so that they knew everything that could happen and all eventualities were covered. Z, what was your experience and how did you change or copy what your mum did for you and with your daughter?
Well, all I can say is kudos to your mum for giving all that information. Seriously, I don't think I
Really?
know that many mums of the back, like of our generation, that probably did that, particularly in the
Right.
Asian community. That's unheard of, I think. Well, for me anyway.
Yeah.
Mum was completely different. I mean, she didn't really say anything about periods as far as I can remember. But I was the eldest girl. And remember, I've got 3 other sisters, and there's a year difference between each and every one of us. I didn't really get my period until I was like 16. I
Wow.
was like a proper late
Lucky
bloomer.
you escaped 6 more years.
Yeah, but I was just like, oh my God, am I ever going to get a period? But then literally, like within weeks, my sisters then got theirs. So one by one, they got theirs.
Wow.
I think it was a nice experience that we went through it together.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting actually, because they do say when you live with females, everybody sort of syncs up with their periods, don't they?
So true.
Yeah, it's interesting because I remember my daughters and I used to have it around the same time as well. And clearly you all had it around the same time.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I was a late bloomer. So,
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, so you had a
Um,
shared experience there.
Well, you had a shared experience. I had a lone experience because obviously I was the first one. Nobody told me what it was. I think it
Yeah.
was just my mum gave me a pad, was like, okay, get on with it, put it in your knickers, done. So it wasn't any explanation in terms of what's going to happen. But then again, I don't think she had any explanation.
Did you actually know about periods at that point, though, or was it like scary for you because you weren't told about it?
I think it was a little scary in the sense that there was blood that had come out.
Yeah.
But I did expect it, bearing in mind I was a late bloomer. And, friends had it prior to me. So I was expecting to have a period. So when the blood came out, I think with anyone who has blood come out for the first time, it's a bit scary. But not as scary as it would be for a 10-year-old. I mean, that's completely different. I think if I was 10, completely different experience. But I probably would be scarred for life forever, to be honest with you. But for me as a 16-year-old, no, I don't think it was that. It was just the fact that, oh my gosh, what is this? Is this it?
Oh, this is it. This is a coming of age.
This is it.
Little do we know. We think, whoa, badge of honor. And then it's like, oh, shit, I'm going to have this for the rest of my life.
Yes, excitement never lasts, does it?
No.
I was quite open with my comments about periods, but to be honest, I did not expect her to have her period at 9, 10 like you did.
Right.
So that was completely new to me because I didn't realise kids had it at primary school.
Oh, okay.
So, so I was expecting her to be maybe 13, 14. In primary school, we're talking probably like, it's 7, 8 years ago now, which isn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Girls are getting taller. they're more developed than I ever remember.
That
To be honest with you.
true. Yes,
Mm.
they are. I mean, it's quite scary how old they do look at that age nowadays. Yeah, in terms
Yeah.
of developing boobies, just their body changes seem to happen a lot sooner.
Yeah, they do. I remember being to the nurse when she had a period, we were getting a sort of blood test. I was like, why are girls having periods so early? Is it quite normal for girls to have periods this early? And she did mention that hormones are now very different, mainly because of the consumption of milk,
Right.
dairy. Yeah, apparently that kind of like elevates hormones and development of puberty.
Interesting. That's something
know,
I
very.
didn't realise.
I know, but to be honest with you, my daughter was drinking a hell of a lot of milk when she was a bubba. So she was like a litre or 2 litres. Not to say that contributed to her periods, but there just seemed to be some correlation why girls were developing so much when they were last generation. I mean, I didn't really go into books or theory or use any medical words. I mean, she found it a shock that the vagina was actual a name. We always used to call it a sort of thing.
Yeah.
So she was like, Mummy, did you know the fufu is actually a vagina? And I was like, yeah. But I was quite flippant. I was like, why did you not know that? But I never made anything of it. I didn't think anything of it, to be honest with you. I probably did a similar thing in terms of getting little bags, but I think the sanitary companies merchandise little silk bags, so it's quite the norm now to actually have those. I was just very adamant that she wouldn't be using tampons just because of the toxicity I felt that came with it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I didn't encourage tampons for my daughters either because, for exactly the same sort of reason. You don't want them doing that from the beginning, and it just feels a bit safer for them using sanitary towels.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I knew when she was heading towards mid-teens, basically, I did try to push the sustainable cups, like the menstrual cups, sort of thing, which do away with the disposal of pads, which can clog up, which is not great for the environment either, basically, entirely recyclable. But she was not having any of it. She goes, that's disgusting. I'm not having that.
I have to agree with her there.
At the thought of washing them and then putting them back in again, she was like, nah. I am not having that. So periods was probably similar to my own experiences in a way, in the sense, there wasn't a huge amount of education I gained. I was like, oh, that's really exciting. Oh my God, yeah, you've got your periods. And here's a temple, here's a pad, put that on. Okay, let's go. And that was it.
Yeah. I remember when mine got the periods and I was like, oh boy, you don't know what this has started now, but hey ho. It's part of being a woman.
So, apart from periods aside, and with girls developing basically, how was it for you and the girls when you developed boobies?
Oh, well, like I said, I was an early developer and quite self-conscious, to be honest, at home, where I had these little like nippy peaks coming up and, because they're like different, aren't they, from when you have full boobs. When you first get them, they're like little peaks, aren't they? And they stick out.
They remind me of those scrambled egg sweets you get. I mean, look at this.
The fried eggs.
Fried eggs, that's it.
Oh, yeah. And I was like, no, I feel really self-conscious, especially at home in front of my dad. And I was also told, you got to cover up properly, that boxed again, cover up properly, be decent. So I started to wear a bit more loose clothing to cover them because I was becoming self-conscious, and especially in T-shirts where I felt like my nips stood out. So those bad boys were hidden at home. And at primary school, I was only one of 3 being an early developer in those years. And so we had bras on. And I remember going shopping with my mum and getting a training bra and feeling very excited. Oh, I feel so grown up. And there's that bit of padding to cover up those pointy nips. So that was all good. I think it was like a badge of honor in a way. It's like, yeah, man, I've got my bra on. That was great. But then on the other side, the boys then also started to notice, hang on, there's something different. Because, when children wear white tops, you can see through a little bit, can't you?
Yeah.
And the boys used to then start to try and ping our bra straps. And that was quite distressing. It sort of made me feel like I was a target for wearing a bra and a bit sexualized, which was quite uncomfortable.
Yeah, 100%.
But like you say, nowadays, more girls are maturing a lot quicker. And so there's not that much of a stigma or don't stand out as much because the majority are probably wearing bras at primary school, unlike in my days. Then when it came to my daughters, in fact, in my earlier days, I used to actually work in mother care. Do you remember the baby shop?
Yeah.
And I was trained to fit bras on expectant mothers for maternity bras. There I was in the changing rooms going, yeah, this fits you. Yes, let me measure you. At 16. Yeah, very awkward. But I must say, when it came to my daughters needing bras, they actually found that really helpful and useful because they used to get me to fit their bras for them. And so they felt less self-conscious in terms of like having a strange lady trying to fit that bra for them because I was able to do it. They felt a lot more at ease going shopping for bras.
Oh my God, I did not know that about you. You know what? When I next see you, you need to size me up. You need to size my bra up.
Oh, well, I could just look at you and say, no. Oh, yeah, I'll become the bra fitting lady. That's my new occupation.
It's a win-win, Missy. It's a
It
win-win.
is. Yeah.
That must have really set you up there. I mean, can you believe how life and our experiences all come round and have meaning? It's so crazy, isn't it?
It is, yeah. We don't know at the time, do we, how this is going to fit in our journey. And then later on, it made sense. So definitely it made sense that I would be fitting bras, apparently.
Particularly all the expectant mums' bibbies in your bed.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to come into use at some point.
Yeah, it came back around.
Yeah.
What about for you, C? What was your experience like? And for your daughter as well?
Yeah, again, late bloomer. Like, I was
Yeah.
flat-chested. Actually, developed lots in my 20s. I recall a number of instances when I was at university. You know, when normally you go to a restaurant,
Yeah.
you want to get a souvenir. You know, you do the normal, let's nick this
yeah.
sort of thing. And so we would always go, and for some reason, we wanted to go nick a tray.
To tray, I used to nick the big peppercorn grinders.
I know, you would think salt and pepper would be so much easier than a bloody tray. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
peppercorn grinders were a lot better to nick. Z, I
They
think you missed a trick there.
I was aiming big. So, so there would be the tray, and they were like, "Oh, let's mix this tray," and they were like, "Yeah, Z can put it under her top because nobody would notice because she's so flat-chested." And that would be the running joke. It was true. I could put a tray under my top and nobody would know. Yeah, I was not squashing anything.
You know what? Knowing you at uni, I had never noticed that about you. That's really interesting.
I think in my second year at uni, I probably started developing BBs from like a quick A to a B cup. But even when I was a B cup, and for years, like in my 20s and 30s, I would still wear those, those chicken fillet gels you get.
Yeah.
To like boost up your bra up to make out you got big boobs. Yeah, I loved them. I would put those chicken fillets in all the time.
Do you remember those Wonder bras? I used to have those, which had the ready-made fillets in and give that great cleavage.
Yeah, no, I put the fillets inside those fillets.
Double the chicken fillet. Did your boobies get bigger after having children?
I really wish they did. I mean, they did actually.
Yeah.
So after having my first, I think I kind of went from a B to a C, and I stayed like a C for a while. I think when I was fully pregnant on both kids, I went to a double D.
Right.
Which was quite nice. Now, in my old age, and I've got my menopause boobies, meno boobies, they've kind of grown to more like an E cup. You know,
interesting. Yeah.
I think they're like old woman boobies.
Yeah.
They haven't reached my knees yet. I'm waiting for that day.
Yeah, just when you can lift the bottom of your skirt and they're there. What?
But my daughter, thinking about my daughter, she developed quite early in primary school. So she has similar to you in terms of like, young boobies, as it were. I got quite excited. I was like, oh my gosh, we can go shopping together for booby bras. So we really enjoyed that part in terms of like getting her first training bra from M&S. It was a great sense of pride for her. She would grow out of them very quickly. I don't think she enjoyed how. So they grew from like an A to a double D to a G, which is quite big because she has a very tiny waist. So if anything, they would give her a slight backache, and she couldn't wear clothing that, because it would actually emphasize her boobs too much.
Okay.
So think and make her look a bit more tarty than she would want. She did think for a long time about getting a boob reduction, and she kept going on about getting a boob reduction. We're quite lucky because we were speaking to a bra fitter in M&S. She was just like, no, her body's going to grow. Body's going to be relative size to her boobs, and she's really lucky. She should feel really lucky that she has that size boobs, because girls go out and want to get implants.
Yeah. If you got it, own it and be proud of them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's owning it, which can take a little while.
Exactly. And it can, because they're still children really at that age, aren't they?
Yeah.
One of my friends had a boob reduction and she really benefited from it. And she didn't have that backache, and she had those wedges in her shoulders from the straps because her boobs were so heavy. And she started to develop like a bit of a hump on the top of her back, and all of that went. And she felt so much happier being able to wear more fitted clothes. And it's not for everyone. Another thing that a couple of my other friends have done is actually get minimizer bras. So they're now luckily available now. And that stops the boobies from sticking out so obviously, if people prefer that look.
I don't think she minds her boobs now, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah, but no,
rightly so. Love yourself.
Yeah, and she has. It's taken a little while for her to get there. I always say it's only been recently. But yeah, no, she's quite happy with her size. So would I. Kept saying to her, I was like, oh my gosh, if I was like in my teens and I had boobs like you, I would not leave the room. I would just be in the mirror the whole time looking at myself.
I must say I had bigger boobs and I felt very proud to be able to have the size boobs that I did and a tiny waist, and it made me feel confident. I loved it.
And so you should. I mean, luckily I didn't have those conversations with my son. I didn't know I had no boobs.
No talk about moobs.
No.
No man boobs.
But how did the sex talk go, Em?
Yeah, I'll start again with my own experience. So it's about trying to break out of those boxes and not being put back into boxes. At home, when I was growing up, sex was a very taboo subject, something that no one discussed. And I even remember the awkwardness of watching TV in the room with my dad. And we loved watching Dallas. Do you remember that program?
And loved it.
And of course, it had quite a lot of raunchy scenes in it. Well, forget the raunchy scenes, even kissing scenes. My dad would get angry, grab the remote, and he'd be like, "Gun, rubbish," and turn over the channel. And then, when you're feeling all hot and sweaty and thinking, oh my gosh, it'd kill me now. I just need to crawl up somewhere. This is really embarrassing. So yeah, kissing was taboo to talk about. And if you watch the first episode, I learned that very quickly when I was younger. But that was taboo, let alone sex. And to be honest, I never saw my parents being affectionate towards each other. I think the only time I actually saw them touching each other or even hugging each other was when it was staged for photos. And this is quite common for, our parents' generation, that they weren't openly affectionate with each other. So we never saw it. The first and only time I've actually seen them be affectionate was when my dad was in hospital and was staying overnight, and my mum kissed my dad on the cheek as she was leaving him to go home. And I was actually really shocked. I mean, it only took them 80 years to show it to me, But it was so cute, and it did make me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. So as for sex, I didn't know what sexual intercourse was until I saw those sex ed videos at secondary school, and it was like, oh, that's what it is. This is how babies are made. Oh my gosh, I didn't realise that. It's like a big revelation. Everybody's like, yeah, I know that. No, they didn't. They were just pretending. So I didn't even know the intimate body part names. And it made me feel embarrassed that I didn't have that knowledge. But actually, when we went into those sex ed classes, you realise actually a lot of the other children didn't know, unless they had older siblings who had told them. But it was a like definite no-go speaking to parents about it. I found out the slang words for the different body parts from friends and peers, and then actually what sexual intercourse was through sex ed. So I wouldn't have known unless I'd actually seen that. So for my girls, I was like, no, I'm not going to have them feeling like it's taboo. We're not going to go back into that box. We're going to break out of that box and open it. And we're going to talk openly about sex. So I bought educational books from the age of around 9 or 10. We use these books to discuss puberty, hormones, but also explain how babies are made. Interestingly, these days in primary schools, the children learn how babies are made from the age of about 10. And I personally believe it's really important that children are aware of these things so they know how to keep themselves safe and they don't become vulnerable to abuse because they have that knowledge. I remember the girls and I sat together, we read through it. They asked me questions and then I gave them the books, went off and read them on their own. I even had a little box where they posted questions that came to mind. Wow. I know. And so, like, if they think of things, they'd put it in the box. And then when we had a chance to get together, then we'd open the box and go through all the questions and I'd answer all the questions for them. So, yeah, it was a really open way. And we talked about the correct terminology. You know, I told them about my own experiences and that I loved my body and I was comfortable in my own skin. And how they develop is at the right time for them. So I never felt embarrassed or awkward about being curious either. And they were well informed. What about for you? What was your experiences like for you and for your children discussing sex? Because obviously you've got a girl and a boy, so I only had girls, so it might be a bit different for you.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what sexual intercourse was until I actually did it.
Whoa, did they not teach it at secondary school?
They probably did. I don't remember it too much. It was something that I kind of zoned into. So to be honest with you, hubby taught me everything, like literally.
Oh.
So when growing up, I've been thinking about my childhood memories. I mean, I remember growing up and I had this knack of getting changed without anyone seeing my body. It was like a magic trick. You know, when you actually have a change of clothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a new set of clothes, new clothes over your old ones and you pull out your old ones for your arm.
Wow.
So nobody actually sees your body.
Right.
So yeah, I remember that.
Why didn't you want anyone seeing your body?
I think it was because the naked body was a taboo. Like you didn't show your body.
Okay.
It was like you just don't show body bits. I don't remember ever seeing anyone's butts, to be honest with you. So for me as the eldest girl, it was more a behavioural thing that would be frowned on. So I needed to set example. So, you know, it was a box that, you know, I probably felt more conscious of breaking out of as I got in a relationship with my hubby, boyfriend at the time, my hubby. He was just like, what are you doing? Like, you know, that's so weird. It's like, you know, get your clothes on. Why are you hiding? What is this? So, yeah, I was like, oh, what? You're allowed to see my body? I was like, what the hell? So, yeah, I think I was then conscious. I don't want them to have a body, to be body conscious in that way.
Yeah.
So now I kind of walk around naked, not all day, but to and from the shower. I did that a lot when the kids were young, you know. So, you know, we weren't body conscious in that respect. I would have showers with my daughter when she was like maybe 12, 13. You know, that may sound a bit weird, but, you know, we were quite happy just showing our bodies off. And it's all about that body positivity. And I wanted to make sure she had a positive body image about herself and she was very conscious of that. I made sure that I got rid of my passion for magazines as well. So I had a passion for having the Vogues or the Marie Claire's, and I got rid of them very, very quickly when she turned maybe 3 or 4, because I didn't want a magazine in the house where she grew up with any negative or comparative images. But little did I know how quick and big social media would be in her life as teenagers.
Yeah.
And how quickly they replaced paper magazines. So body images and comparisons are more accessible, not just to her, but also to my son. I think it's not a gender specific thing just for females. But, going back to my daughter, she went through phases of growing up where she wore way too much makeup. Even at the age of I want to say 10, she was going to Sainsbury's. She was like, Mummy, I want this red lipstick. I was like, no, you are not getting that lipstick. I turned around for 2 seconds. She's put the tester on. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you look so beautiful. Of course you can get it. I mean, I'm the worst mum ever. It's like, I said, no, stick to that. It was like, oh, but you look so lovely. Let's buy it. Let's buy it. Let's buy it. But she went through the phases. I didn't really stop her because, I knew when I was growing up, I wasn't allowed to wear makeup. Even at 16, I wasn't allowed to make up. I literally had to run up the road and apply red lippy on, which probably wasn't a great look because I had a full-grown moustache. Yeah, it emphasised my moustache, which was not great because as Asian women, we are blessed with body hair. And I had
we
a lot
so
of body
are.
hair.
We so are. A lot to answer for where it comes to having the bear look.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was conscious that she didn't feel that, that was a negative thing and that didn't play in her mind at all. So I would teach her about dyeing facial hair, creaming as she got older. Now I'm trying to get her into laser, to be honest with you, but she's not that patient.
For my girls, my beautician told me to only get the girls' armpits and legs waxed right from their baby hair. And so that's what I started to do when they were old enough and they're becoming self-conscious about it. They actually then started waxing. And my eldest carried that on to the point now she's in her 20s and she's got hardly any hair on her legs. And she gets her armpits lasered and her hair is so fine. My youngest was not as patient. And she was like, no, I'm not having that. I am going to shave. So she continues to do the shaving. But yeah, laser has been a game changer.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I wish I had someone had to talk with me because I shaved for over 40 years, if I'm completely honest with you. And your hair, your legs were Brillo pad, really grizzly. And it's only recently I've been using laser, and that definitely was a game changer.
For me, it was that bun fluff moustache, and I felt so self-conscious about it. I was a teenager at secondary school. You're up close to people, and I was like, oh, what am I going to do about it? And my mum didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what to do, how to hide it. Then I learned about Jolene. Do you remember Jolene? Jolene. Yeah, that became my best friend. Before moving on to electrolysis, that painful electrolysis, and then on to laser after that.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I remember electrolysis. I got electrolysis done when I was 17.
Yeah, same as me.
Yeah, I got it done really early. I've not had any hair on my upper lip since 17. So I love electrolysis. It was painful. It took 2 years, but it was definitely worth that. But yeah, getting back to sex talk, I was really shocked, if I'm completely honest with you, on the graphic description of what was being discussed at primary school. So with the sex talk happening at primary school, I thought it was way too early.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. So when I had my son, and that was the first time I got exposed to that level of sex talk, to be honest with you, and what they talked about. And I remember going over to the teacher and I was like, I think this has gone too far. You really need to discuss all these topics. They're really young. But I had to get over the fact that my son was a baby.
Yeah.
He wasn't my baby anymore. This is part of growing up. So I kind of changed my mindset when it came to my daughter because there's a 5.5-year gap.
Yeah.
So I tried to be as open as I could. And she found everything quite hilarious. So she would come home with those graphic descriptions. And, oh my God, Mummy, do you know that this and that? I was like, you have to tell me that information.
So she learnt at primary school rather than you giving that talk or sharing with her. Yeah.
Yeah, because it wasn't a conversation that I felt was needed.
Yeah.
I felt was needed, because I just thought, they ain't going to do anything at this age. So why am I telling them at this age? I don't need to tell them. And I think if I had my time again, I would still stick with that. Because I felt it was too much information. I did have the conversation when she was heading towards maybe 16, 17 about contraception. And that was only because then she started having a boyfriend. And I was just like, oh my gosh, you know, I can't shy away from the topic now.
I agree, because contraception is definitely something that we have to discuss to support our children, don't we, when they get into relationships?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, it was an uncomfortable conversation for me because for my values and expectations, I didn't want her to start intimacy so young, if I'm completely
Right.
honest with you. But she was in a relationship where they were having the act. I had to address it straight. And I was like, "Are you having sex?" She went,
Yeah.
"No, no, no." I was like, "I know you are. If you are, we need to talk about this." And that's when the conversation started. And then I will go on in terms of like how you wash yourself and body hygiene after that, and why being on the pill was so important, what different types of pills there were, what different types of contraceptives there were. I would go to the doctors with her and everything, basically.
I would say that I also did that with my children. Firstly, they went on the pill because they were both having very heavy periods. And one of the ways that the doctors recommended was to actually take like a very mild pill to reduce the heaviness of the periods because they were having so much time off from school. And I remember going through the same myself. I mean, I had endometriosis in the end, which explained the reason why I had it. But I didn't want my children to be suffering the amount I did with heavy periods. So they actually went onto the pill. So I already knew that they would be safe if they then went into relationships because they would be protected. But I did have the chat with them that don't just rely on the pill and actually make sure that there's double protection in terms of condoms as well. Because pills don't protect you from STDs, do they?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to sex talk with my son, we never really had the chat, if I'm completely honest with you. So following the primary sex education session, following that session, I did construct some PowerPoint slides.
See the teacher again. No tutor needed this time.
But I just thought it was an easier way to have that conversation with him and, to show him the transition and what that actually meant. But before I did that, I showed that to my hubby and he killed that idea straight away. He was just like, "No, stop it. You are not showing those slides to anybody."
Oh, I love it. It's like a presentation. Love that.
I thought they were quite good, but I didn't delete them. But anyway. But interestingly, my husband never had a conversation with him either.
Right.
He was like, "No, nobody had the talk with me. He'll learn it himself." Again, I focused on body image because there's going to be a lot of changes in terms of facial hair, in terms of his hormones, because he would actually have spouts of being quite upset and quite angry sometimes and didn't understand why that was.
Yeah.
So I would talk through. I even taught him how to shave.
Oh, that is so cute.
And that was the same with my daughter, basically. But yeah,
Did
with the
your hubby
shaving.
not do that talk with him?
No, he just wasn't interested. He's just like,
Aw.
"Yeah, he'll know how to do it." So I was like, "No, he won't." I was like, "He's totally useless." He doesn't know how to tie his shoelaces, let alone shave his
So
moustache.
you showed him how to shave his face?
Yeah, well, not just his face, his moustache.
Bum fluff.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll get him to watch YouTube videos.
Great idea.
Yeah, we did it that way. So we watch a YouTube video, I'll get the products. And I was like, "Okay, now go in the bathroom and I'll watch him a little bit. It's okay, maybe not that way, maybe this way." But, I think a lot of women would probably resonate the fact that we can't take the lead in most things, like, taught kids how to ride the bike, taught them how to play tennis badly. Most women feel like they're like single mums, to be honest with you, doing the every day.
Exactly.
But before uni, we did do a shop to get stuff for his uni. And I was like, "Okay, this is a great time for me to buy him condoms and to have that conversation."
Oh,
And I was like,
that. Be prepared.
Yeah, I was, I thought this was a great moment. And I said, "Oh, I better buy you some condoms." He cut me down straight away. He was like, "We are not having this conversation. We are not doing this." And he totally rejected my kindness.
Oh,
And that was the end.
how dare he reject your kind offer? I wonder why he did that.
Okay, I think we should go to the part now of each episode where we give advice to our younger self. So, Em, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I've been thinking about this. And like I said, I've talked to my daughters as well before we did this podcast just to get a perspective from them as well. I don't think I'd actually do anything differently from what I did, having spoken to them, because they said they will be doing the same, as their own experience was really helpful and supported them. So they would do the same if they have children. So I wouldn't do anything different, but I would affirm that if we want our children to love their own bodies, evolve and respect their bodies, as parents, we should be firstly role models by loving ourselves and them and our partners by showing affection, teaching them so children learn about healthy relationships. Also, making that time and space for our children to have the chance to be curious and open, and making sure that nothing's off the table for them to discuss at an age appropriate level for them. And that way, they're not going to get the wrong or inaccurate information from their peers or unsafe adults. And they also grow up knowing it's not a taboo topic to talk about sex or any other topic, because of that open communication that's developed and those safe relationships that we as parents develop with them. This way, they don't grow up feeling confused or different from others in a negative way, at whatever age they have their periods or their boobies grow or whatever, at whatever age they have sex. It just instead informs them, and they grow up loving their bodies and themselves, and know that however or whatever time it takes, for girls, breasts and periods, for boys, growing hair on their faces, chest, or having wet dreams, it's when it's the right time for the individuals and to celebrate and love themselves. What about for you, Z?
Yeah, I mean, I think I found the whole sex talk quite hard, if I'm completely honest with you, especially with my son, because I just felt it was too soon. I just did not want to believe they were grown up. So I think the advice I would give is just to let go, that they are growing up and they will be in a world you cannot control. So you need to equip them, and equipping them with the knowledge that probably goes beyond classrooms, which I did. And sex talk they will get in the classrooms. For me, it was trusting my own instincts and what I considered to be important. And what I wanted them to learn was positive body image. So promoting that positive body image to both my son and daughter, to be comfortable in their skin, regardless of size, shape. The changes they're going to go through is going to be scary. And there's times they will hate the look of certain parts of their body. So just ensure they value themselves, so their looks are not the main driver in life. So personal hygiene is another one that was quite important, especially in this period, addressing all the issues that come with that and how they can combat body odours, as that can be stressful because teenagers. I think we can't get away from the fact that we live in a digital world, which is fast-paced and brutal at times, where comparisons and fake images are thrown in our teenagers' faces, which can be misinterpreted. Personally, the advice I would give is to urge you to build your children's self-esteem and confidence first and foremost, because I do believe that's how they view themselves. And I think everything else will follow.
Thank you for listening today. We would love it if you could click the subscribe button, add your comments, and share with as many people as you feel would enjoy our discussions and stories.
We would so love to hear your stories. So email us anonymously or with your first name, any stories about being in the box and getting out of that box. Our email is in the link below.
We can't wait for you to join us next time, where we'll be discussing parents on the playground and tiger mums. What happened? Were there more boxes? Join us to find out.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait for the next episode. I'm so excited.
We have so much to share.